Hey, welcome to episode 3 of Show Me Your Jams. I'm a little bit sick right now, so my voice might be a little bit funny. Today's guest is Smithy Ramone, who plays bass in Smithy Ramone and sings in Smithy Ramone and writes Smithy Ramone songs. That is her solo project. She also plays bass in Jock Tears. She is a gem of a person, a gem of a songwriter, a gem of a musician, and she often threatens to leave Vancouver, so I try to spot this gem whenever possible. Today is part 2 of the Jock Tears double shot. We heard from Spencer Hargreaves, who plays guitar, in Jock Tears' last episode. Today we're hearing another side of the story from Smithy Ramone. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? We're going to get to the bottom of it. We talk about her first punk show, which is not for the faint of heart and not for children to hear. We talk about her history playing trombone. We talk about how she writes Smithy Ramone songs, how she writes bass lines for Jock Tears and music in general. Let's check it out.
What you do is magic. Tell me how you do it. Alakazam, show me your jazz. Snoozing for a bruising every day this week. Foggy notions in my head from when you kiss my cheek. Reverting back to black. Don't think I'm coming back.
Probably didn't know I was going to be a rock star until I was like maybe more like 11.
Yeah.
Flash forward a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flash forward a bit, 11.
Yeah.
And it was like that moment when you get to go into the gymnasium and pick your rental band instrument, and they have them like all in the corners, so all the brass are like in one side of the gymnasium. At least this is how they did it back in old Nanaimo.
This is how I think Spencer said he started playing saxophone.
And they had like, all the saxophones in one corner, and then like all like the, flutes and like clarinets in one corner. And obviously I went to the saxophone section because that's where the cool instruments are.
Yeah.
And I'm no fool.
Yeah.
So waltz over there and I pick up like a cool tenor and I'm like ready to go. Band teacher.
Bleach blonde hair, ready to go.
Ready to go.
Did you have bleach blonde hair?
No, it was just kind of brown.
Okay.
And, band teacher comes over to me and he says, "Sorry, miss, you will not be playing the tenor saxophone. You're going to be playing the trombone because only you have the longest arms to play the sixth position, and we need a trombone player." And I was like, "You got to be kidding me. I don't want to play that loser's instrument. It just sounds like farts."
Yeah.
Like, it's just my luck, Like, of course I waltz in here hoping to get kissed in a saxophone.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm leaving with the trombone and a fart machine. Yeah. And I remember like going back to my friend Chelsea Tulin's tree fort.
Yeah.
And she got a freaking alto. Of course she did. I know. She got a freaking alto. We climb up into her tree fort and we like put our instruments together.
Yeah.
And they like put my mouthpiece in and lube up that slide. And it like she could already play like a doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle, and I was like, "Oh, so cool." And then she's like, "You go," and I was like, "Okay," and it just was like a and then I just burst into tears, sealing my fate. I was like, "This is it." Oh, so yeah, trombone it was.
And then you continued on.
Well,
didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. The thing is like I actually was really good at it naturally. I really could hit sixth position, no problem. Band teacher was right.
Yeah.
And it kind of became this like thing that like made me feel really special and good.
Yeah.
And so like I'd play it more. And then all of a sudden I go into like high school, grade 8. And they're like, "We need more trombone players. You're going to play in the senior band." Whoa. So here I am. I'm a late bloomer, December baby. So I was like literally 12 in high school.
Yeah.
And I got to play in like the junior band and the senior band. And then they started giving me solos in front of the whole school.
Wow.
And then a few times I got to play "O Canada" in front of the whole school.
Just you.
And just like me standing up there with my trombone like, bo, 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 right? And like for that like moment of me up there in front of everybody, all like 200 of us, Cedar Junior Community Secondary School in British Columbia, I was like kind of like I thought I was cool, the cool trombone playing person instead of like the tall, awkward weirdo that didn't really fit in. Like I had this like trombone identity that was like wildly important to me. And I think I just loved taking that moment and saying, I think I am a performer, John. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I think I love standing in front of them and like giving them something to chew on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did bass happen?
Well, I played the trombone passionately.
Yeah.
Might I add? I played the trombone passionately through my high school years, and then I went to music school. It was like at Malaspina University. It was a jazz program.
Yeah.
And
you did trombone.
And I did trombone there. And then like I think like that's kind of, by then I started to kind of, I knew what like punk rock was. Okay, so like I think I started playing, here it is. Okay. I figured it out.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay. So maybe when I was about 16 or 15, I went to like my first punk show in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
Okay, this story is a little lewd for all you listeners out there. So I go to this punk show with my best friend Fraser, and it's at the Nanaimo Youth Center, and there's this local band playing called the Crusties.
Uh-huh.
And the Crusties had the most like wild singer. They called him the King.
Yeah.
They called him the King, and like their tag was like the Crusties, the only band worth hating.
Wow.
Yeah, so like we knew we were in for a show.
Yeah.
And they had like all these like crust punk teens in the front row,
Yeah.
like with their backpacks and their like little studs.
Yeah.
And they were moshing away, and the singer, the King,
Yeah.
he puts his hand down his pants.
No.
Right down his pants, right down the back of his pants.
Yeah.
While he's like bent over singing like this song about like his racist grandpa.
Yeah.
And he's like wiggling his hand all around his butt.
Yeah.
Maybe in the cheeks. He's wiggling it all around his butt. Pulls out his poops hand.
Yeah.
And he slides it down the cheek of one of the moshers in the front row. And then the moshers like went crazy. It's like they went supercharged. So they started like bumping into each other. And there I was standing against the wall, being like, holy smokers, this is wild. Like I think I love this.
Yeah.
You know? I think I love this. And I think that's the moment where I was like, I don't know if trombone's gonna cut it anymore. Yeah. So I got this really cute pink bass.
Yeah.
That I kind of convinced my parents it would be like my graduation present, and it was like a J. Tercer bass. I got it at like one of the last music stores in Nanaimo before all the Long McQuades came into town.
Yeah.
It's a cute place. Arbutus Music.
Yeah.
It's cute. Got it, and I was obsessed with this one band called Heavens to Betsy, and I learned all of their songs. They were just like they were like a riot girl band from like maybe like the mid 90s in the Pacific Northwest, and I just learned every single song they possibly had on my little bass. And then I guess I started a band. Yeah, I sure did. I started a band with a couple cool ladies. One that was in the jazz program, and she was like a jazz bass player, and then one that was just like a freak around town.
Yeah.
And we started a band, and we were kind of like we played those Heavens to Betsy covers first, and then we probably wrote like 6 originals, and I think that felt so good. That felt so good that I had to keep playing that bass. Yeah. And then I think I actually kind of like stopped playing the trombone altogether, if I'm going to be honest. But I did bring it out. It comes out once in a while, like at a party. Yeah. For a good old party trick.
Yeah. So you started this band while you were in school studying trombone, but you're secretly having more fun playing the bass.
Big time.
Big time.
Big time. Way more fun. We were playing up and down the island. Parksville Community Center.
Parksville.
Yeah. We went to Cumberland.
Coombs? You played Coombs?
Coombs, goats on the roof. No, we drove by and got ice cream on the way up to Courtney.
Yeah, of course.
But, yeah, so it was just like no contest. Like all of a sudden here I am, and I'm playing like for other people that are my age, and like I can tell that like what I'm doing like has an effect on them.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was sitting in a classroom, like I don't know, lifting Charlie Parker solos, like it just didn't have the same. I wasn't making anyone feel anything.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that experience. Like Spencer mentioned that. I definitely had that. My friend Alice has that, where we started somewhere else, usually in rock music or punk music, and then go to jazz school, and then realize once you're done, like, oh, that's not why I signed up. I think I think it's nice to take away stuff from school, because you always learn something that you can, little tools in your tool belt for when you're writing your rock songs. But it is interesting how a lot of people realize at the end they remember the original reason why they got into music, and it wasn't theoretical and intellectual. It was like an emotional thing.
Yeah, I think it's like how it made you feel, or how you have the power to make others feel.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's so cool about music, is it's like, I mean, we don't even understand all of the ways it touches us as like humans, but we all sure love it.
Yeah.
So.
And then, so Jock Tears. When did Jock Tears start?
Ooh, Jock Tears is a good old story. It's it kind of, as with most of my projects, they're usually like phoenixes that rise out of the ashes of something heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So Jock Tears started when I thought I was moving to London.
Yeah.
Not Ontario, the big one.
Yeah.
And I was all packed up, ready to go.
All packed up, ready to go.
All packed up, ready to go. And it didn't happen. And so this visa thing that I thought was going to come through didn't come through with my employer. And I was stuck in Vancouver. And at this time, I said goodbye to my other band.
Yeah.
And they all moved off to Toronto. And I did like a final goodbye tour where I like went all around North America saying goodbye, never coming back to this continent again.
Yeah.
Suckers.
Yeah.
And then came back to Vancouver to realize, no, in fact, I'm sticking around here for a while. Didn't have a band, didn't really have a job. And Dustin, who lives in my apartment with me, my drummer in Jock Tears, gave me a knock on the door. And he was like all kind of fired up. He was like, yeah, I think there's this crazy new band we're going to whip together for Music Waste. We need a bass player. Are you in?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wiping the tears off my face and like folding up my Union Jack flag. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try it out. And it was one of those bands where like we got together in the room and we wrote 6 songs like the first band practice. It just was like, here it is, ready to go.
Yeah. Here it is, ready to go. So Spencer Hargreaves, who also plays in the band, we spoke a little bit about Jock Tears too. So Jock Tears now is in 17 tone.
Yeah, we're playing 17 tone.
But it started off not in 17 tone.
Nope. Always. Wait a second. It did start off not in 17 tone. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then, so just for my dad who may be listening, so 17 tone, it's dividing the octave into 17 instead of 12, which is standard in Western music. You got your C's, you got your C sharps, you got your D's, and then after 12 of those, you come back to where you're at originally. 17 tone, we're doing 17 divisions.
A couple extra notes in there. So, and Spencer, I believe, introduced this idea to Jock Tears. What was that like when he was like, yo, let's play in 17 tone? Well, it was kind of exciting because he felt like no one else was doing it, which felt really exciting. And I was brave enough to be like, yeah, I think I would like to do this. The thing is it still sounds fabulous. So you can still hear like where all the beautiful notes are and like where all the like the perfect like Dee Ramone like fifths are still sound so cool. In fact, they sound like just a little bit more cool, I think, because maybe even just knowing that like no one else can really do this again. I don't know. Maybe I've had like wild dreams of like someone trying to like tab out a bass line for Jock Tears. Yeah. And then me sitting back like, psych, sucker. Nice try, buddy. Yeah. So yeah, it just kind of felt like a little bit revolutionary in this way that I was thrilled to kind of jump in and play with it. Yeah. I don't think about the theory as much as Spencer does. Sometimes, like on tour, there's this one time at a nudist beach where everyone was just sunning themselves, but not Spencer. He was sitting in the middle of the sand with like 8 pages of loose leaf with all these like crazy calculations. And is when he was trying to like come up with like a color story to colorize each note of the 17 tone.
Wow.
And so bless his heart, it can be a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, he explained there's one jam. I believe it used to be called Kelly Kapowski, but now it's not.
Oh yeah, now it's called Not Your Sweetheart.
I'm really not trying to hear you call me your sweetheart. See you drinking, cheap ass beer. Don't you call me sweetheart. Hey, buddy, to all your friends. I'm really not your sweetheart. Try to text me at 3 a.m. So sick of being your sweetheart. Hey, you know me well.
Right. And I think it's this jam where was that one of them that started off not in 17 tone, that started in 12 tone?
It definitely started off, I think, in 12 tone. It was like one of the first songs we wrote for sure.
Right. And he demonstrated for me like the original way. I think it's like 1 minor third 5.
Yeah.
But then he's like, yo, what if we do it in 17 tone? And it's a neutral third.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it just sounds so lifty and squirmy and cool.
Yeah, it sounded way better.
Yeah.
Are you so you have a bass here that's refretted so you can play?
Yeah, I
in
did
17
bring the magic bass, I like to call it.
Yeah. Are you able to play like
Yeah.
the original way versus how it became?
I don't think I can
exactly,
because
yeah.
I think that those frets are all moved.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to play how it is now?
I'd love to.
Okay. Rockin'.
Like, how great is this note?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
How great is this? Yeah.
Yeah. So was it weird to learn to play on this? Because I know I've messed around with his instruments sometimes, and I feel I just have no idea what's going on because your usual thought of where your fingers go to make a certain sound is totally redone.
For me, it's kind of like I've had to throw all the letters out the front door.
Yeah.
Shut
the front door.
Yeah, those, E's, C's, B's, they're out of here.
Yeah, they're gone.
For me, when I'm playing it, it's more like, I guess like shapes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Shapes and sounds. Yeah, totally. I like it. Like Jock Tears is a band. The songs that, like the bass lines that I'm writing, we want to make people feel like really good and up. Like we want to get people we want to get your party started.
Right.
you do with like a high kick to the bass.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of like write these songs that are like fast, fun,
yeah,
a little squirmy, but not too squirmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he mentioned most of the jams you brought in bass lines and then they kind of start from there. Is that a true statement?
That's probably pretty accurate.
That's very cool. So what is your process? I'm curious how
it's like different for different projects, right? So like recently in my Smithy Ramone stuff, which is like my solo stuff, like I think that's where I've really gone on a bigger journey in terms of my songwriting, because with Jock Tears it's been so collaborative. Like I'll bring in a dope bass line that I just think totally shreds, and I can't wait to show everyone. And maybe I kind of know that it's for a verse, or maybe I kind of know it's for a chorus, or maybe I kind of know there's going to be a part A and a part B, and I have both those parts. And I'll kind of bring them into the group, and then usually Lauren Ray will have some like fabulous lyrics, and we'll kind of be like, okay, well, to make that fit, we play this 8 times, and then we'll do that 4 times. So it's kind of it's very like the group of us together are kind of coming up with it together. Whereas like with the Smithy Ramone stuff, that's like way more, that's just me. There's no one else being like, oh, do that again, or do that less, or I have this part I want to add in, or would it be cool if there's none of that, it's just little old me. So I think the process for that is I get really caught up on like funny ideas and funny phrases first. Like here's one that I don't know why it's still in my head, but I can't shake it. I was thinking about the Jolly Giant, like that big green guy. And what happens is for some reason I'll see him around. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll be in a radio commercial or
Yeah.
on the side of a bus.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, Jolly Giant, Jolly Giant, Jolly Giant. There he is. I'm kind of like a Jolly Giant, aren't I? I'm a Jolly Giant. I love Jolly Giants. Jolly Giants are good.
Yeah.
They're good. They're really good.
Yeah.
And then I'll like write it down in my notebook or I'll write it down on my phone.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, I'll go through my notes and be like, oh, there's that Jolly Giant again. Oh my goodness gracious. Jolly Giants are good, aren't they? I should write a song about Jolly Giants.
Yeah.
And then that'll just be like like a brain worm,
Yeah.
literally, for like probably a month.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. And then one day a song about Jolly Giants will just fall out.
Just fall out of there.
But usually it starts with a phrase and it will trigger something in how I'm feeling in
Yeah.
that moment. Like usually will say something about like how I see things, it may trigger like a feeling of something like, oh, that's really like poignant to me. Like that really makes me like feel this.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down. I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
And then the song comes. After that idea is like super duper marinated.
So you usually have like a lyrical idea before you have a musical idea?
I don't even know if it's lyrical.
Yeah.
It's more,
an
it's just like,
idea.
I need to write a song about Jolly
Giants.
Giants.
Yeah.
And how sweet they are and tender.
Right.
They're good too.
They're great. So how do you start musically? Do you just find your way around the bass, or do you have an idea from a different song that you heard and you're like, I want to have something like that?
You know, it kind of changes all the time. Like I think often I'll just like, when it's like time for the song to come out, usually I'll be like kind of fired up about Jolly Giants.
Yeah.
And I'll sit down and be like, okay, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
I can feel it on my tongue.
Yeah.
And then usually I'll just kind of pick up the bass and I'll start with like a note that I think sounds really nice.
Yeah. It's a great note.
Thank you. And then I'll probably start playing some like nice shapes around it.
Yeah.
And like really, I want to play like pop songs. I want to play like beautiful pop songs that make you feel something. And mostly I want my songs to have like substance enough that like maybe, do you feel like a Jolly Giant too?
Right.
Well, this is a song for you then.
Is Smithy Ramone in 17 or is that in 12?
It's in 12.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
For now, but
now.
like who knows?
Who knows?
I pick up both guitars kind of like fluidly, like they both kind of sit on either end of my couch.
Yeah.
So sometimes the 12 tone gets picked up, sometimes the 17. I kind of write on them the same, to be honest.
Right.
They're not that different.
Yeah. And then so it sounds like somewhat of an intuitive process in the way that an idea gets in there and then you go, oh, it's time, and it happens. Do you think of it as, how do you think of that process? Do you think like metaphorically? Do you think like for example, I've heard a lot of people describe the same process in a different way, like Michael Jackson will say the song like writes itself. I think Neil Young talked about like tapping into this spring, the spring of ideas, and Bob Dylan talked about. I can't remember how he described. He said he sold his soul to the devil or something.
Sure.
But he said, when he was in his younger years, he could just do it, and now he can't. Like it was this kind of like passing moment that he could just tap into something. Like Radiohead says they're called Radiohead because they get beamed ideas from outer space. Remember John Frusciante talked about like spirits circling around him, and then they would give him ideas. So
Wild.
These are all like. These are all kind of describing the same thing. You could like, no matter if they're metaphors or literal, they're describing kind of the same feeling.
Totally. For me, it's maybe a little therapeutic in this way that I'll have this idea and I will obsess about it. Sometimes it's to the point that I'm like, oh, I wish I could just stop thinking about it. Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. Yeah. I'm not even operating as like a normal human being anymore. I can't even have a normal conversation because these freaking Jolly Giants keep popping in my head. Yeah. To the point that like I have to get it out in the form of a song. Otherwise I can't move on. Yeah. It's like I'm stuck.
Do you think of the original idea coming from outwards, or do you think it's all like, does it feel like it's all inside of you?
Oh, I think it's
brain?
inside of me, and I probably find it in the real world. Right. And then I'm like, oh, that is it. That describes how I'm feeling right now. That little phrase, or that little thing, that little saying, that little wordplay. Yeah, that is it. you know, I can tell when that's it. Like all the little hairs kind of stand up and I have to write it down. I'm like, pass me a pen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they're often really weird.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I look back at them and I'm like, oh, I was stoned, or like, like what was I? Wow, But like the ones that stick, they really stick to the points. Like in terms, the only way to move on is to like get it out in a song at that point. And sometimes it's brutally painful. One time I decided I was going to go and just like write these 4 songs. I made a goal. I was like, I'm going to write 4 songs. I'm going to fly to Glasgow, the saddest place in the world. The saddest place in the whole world's crumbling at our feet. Everyone's like, you know, sad and wet. And I'm going to go there and drink a bottle of wine and get a beeswax candle and write a record.
Great idea.
And thank you, but nothing came out. So it's like, and when you have these ideas and you're marinating on them, and they're so close on the tip of your tongue, but like nothing comes out. You can feel like a total failure. And you look around at all your peers and you're like, wow, they're writing hundreds of songs. Look at them go. Oh, they just wrote 6 today. Good job, buddy. I can't even get like I can't even get a chorus out, like nothing really, for days. So it's like, it can be really painful.
That's almost like the well metaphor, though, I feel like, because like sometimes the well's just dried up and you gotta move on to a new well. But I mean, talking to Future Star too. She talked about just kind of working when you know you have that inspiration there, and then when it's not there, don't necessarily force yourself. Because I know some people do, especially with practicing. They'll go, oh, I don't want to practice, but I'm gonna go practice for 3 hours or whatever. Or there's some people that say, yeah, you got to write every day for an hour and that's how you get stuff done. But yeah, you're right, because then you can feel shitty when you do try to write for an hour.
But is feeling shitty that bad? Like, here's the
Probably
thing.
not.
I a little bit like to kind of be like, no, Lorraine, like you must. You like, I love to give myself these like hard goals. And even though like it is painful through that process, and I'm like, oh my God, I suck. Everything I write's lame. This is so embarrassing. Nothing's coming out. Oh my God, I'm a zilch. I think like that process even is pretty cool. I like being able to have those kind of conversations with myself, probably. Because then when a song does come out, I'm like, check this Magic Leather Jacket song out. You know, like this is it. So I do think you need to kind of force yourself. Because like for me, otherwise I would just be swimming in the pool all day. Walking to the sun.
I love Magic Leather Jacket.
In my magic leather jacket, I can take off like a rocket. In my magic leather jacket, feeling good, there's nothing like it. When I get to the show on my police ever side, I'll even throw some shade and smile. Feeling real cool now on my Harley for a ride. Your magic's working on me, feeling free.
Can we talk about that one? Like, so how did that one happen musically? Can you remember chord wise or progression wise or like shape wise how that started and how it progressed? Or
honestly, it's more about like, it didn't really start with a shape or like, it just, that one just probably like, I had the lyrics there.
And the melody.
I knew I wanted to sing about a magic leather jacket and how good it made me feel. And so I knew that it would probably be like a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus. And then maybe like a cool, punchy, smiley outro where I could, you know what, John? I was just thinking about this. I think often when I'm writing a song, I actually almost can see myself on stage performing the song. Like, I think I definitely am writing from that place of like, how am I going to be able to convey this idea to like a group of people on stage live? And so it's not so much the shapes, it's more how I want to make people feel and how I want to be feeling while I'm playing it.
But then, so how does that translate into actual
music?
Like,
I think like I definitely have like I think I definitely have like a sound that I play in, and it's kind of probably rooted in that like Ramonesy kind of like 1s and 5s and 4s.
Yeah.
So like really I'm probably applying that.
Yeah.
I'm probably applying that over and over and over again, and just maybe like a slightly different shape, or sometimes faster, sometimes slower.
Yeah.
But I'm probably applying that like structure of like the perfect pop punk song over and over and over again. So it's like I don't really think I'm reinventing the wheel there.
No.
But hopefully where like my magic comes out is like more in the performing of it, and how I'm making people feel through it. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I ask is because your songs are very smart and like and well put together. So if you just said like, oh, I don't know, they just happened, that would be
You think they're smart?
a miracle. Yeah, I do. Like
I kind of think they're dumb.
no, but there's a way. I mean, Smithy Ramone songs and also Jock Tears songs. It's not just like, oh, here's a verse, here's a chorus, let's throw them together. Like there's a flow through them, which is what the Ramones have too, which is what I would say is like for me the greatest thing about the Ramones is that everything is effortless and flows, and there's nothing in there that doesn't need to be there.
Totally.
And there's just kind of perfection and kind of what I think of minimalism being.
Yeah.
Which is just the form is there. It's a very strong form. You know, if you think about architecture or design or something, it's all about the form, and then the only creative deviations you take still have to fit within that form. It still has to be functional and a structure and stand
And almost
up
recognizable in that form.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. Like I don't really want to change that form. It's perfect.
Yeah. So did you spend much time analyzing what's happening in Ramones songs, or is it just kind of subconsciously in there?
I think it's burnt in there.
Yeah.
I think that it's just like all of once I listened to that first Krusty show, once I saw that gross band and that poop band coming out, and like how they could make people whip up into a frenzy and like just feel so crazy off of just 2 chords like that, like punk was baked into me at that moment. There was like a lightning bolt that came through the ceiling of the Nanaimo Youth Center. Yeah. And I was forever changed to be like 3 chords is great. 3 chords is fine.
But there's a lot of people who use that and it doesn't come off as successfully. Like there's kind of just like, here's 3 chords for the verse, here's 2 for the chorus, throw them together, but they're not necessarily connected in a way. And
I have a tiny theory, but like I hope this doesn't make me sound like a jerk.
Okay.
I have a theory that like sometimes maybe they've missed a step, or they've misdiagnosed the piece of like how they're making people feel. Like maybe they haven't quite understood that part of themselves. Maybe they like, or maybe they want to make someone feel this way, but like people actually don't want to feel that feeling because it's gross. Yeah. Or maybe it's self-serving and it's like just stroking their ego in a weird way, and they're just like, ew, like I don't really want it. That's how it falls flat, is there's missing this like authenticity in it, that of the feeling of it, that the audience can't connect to. Yeah. Yes. Or people, listeners, can't connect to. Like they like, that's the point of punk, is it's like this easy. Well, I mean, there's many points of punk, isn't there? Right. But like, it is meant to kind of almost be a blank canvas to like, convey emotion. Yeah. But there's also like, I think the difference between say your music and say another punk band that maybe was not as impressive to me, there is the energy, but it's also possible to have that energy, but then the song just not being very good in like a traditional intellectual, maybe like theoretical sense, that there are theoretical ways to quote unquote correctly move from this chord to this chord, and if that knowledge isn't necessarily there, the song doesn't quite connect, and it's kind of like a train that's not moving smoothly along its tracks. Yeah. But then I find with your music and say, you know, early Ramones music, it feels like there's an understanding of what chord you're playing and then where that's going, and not just thrown together. And actually Spencer talked about it specifically on
was it Handlebars?
Sitting on your handlebars, whipping by all the cars, even like a spicy lass, going nowhere, going fast. All the shops have their lights off, all the pedestrians look and scoff, all the world is speeding by. All I want is you to be my guide, sitting on your handlebars.
Where it's doing like a 1 and 4, and then you go up to the neutral 6. You do
Oh
1
yeah,
and 4.
that neutral
Yeah,
six.
the neutral 6. And then he was saying that you guys couldn't figure out exactly how to get back to your verse, and then so you did this like 3 up a tone, 4 dealy back to the 1 or something.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
I'll start from here.
Yeah.
So it goes, and that's the neutral 6. I might be a
Right.
little out of tune here. And then one of these, classic, right?
Yeah. So for example, if a band didn't do that little classic part and just went back to the original thing, it wouldn't be as smooth, right?
Yeah, totally.
And there's kind of like a theoretical reason why we think that
Sounds
feels-
good.
Yeah, and if you don't know exactly why, that subconsciously there's something that feels better. It's like here's a little bridge back. Here's a little
Totally, we're
transition.
gonna make it easy for you.
Yeah, and if
Don't worry.
and if that bridge isn't there, you kind of just drive into the river.
Totally.
So there is like, I feel like there's definitely like an energetic part that you guys have, but the band is, I think, really great because there's also those little bridges. There's like a theoretical part too that we know humans are accustomed to, that, oh, we need that little bridge, even if you know why or not why. There's either a conscious or subconscious knowledge that's happening.
Yeah, it's like, it just sounds like that's the right
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
The right thing to do here is a little transition, because that's like what Elvis would have done.
Yeah. So something
You
like something like that, would you
Mhm.
think like music school maybe helped you realize that? Or
I think the radio probably
the
helped
radio,
me
yeah.
realize
And just
that.
kind of like feeling like, oh, this should happen.
There should be a resolve. I mean,
Okay.
like when you definitely in music school, like you learned the theory behind why something sounds crunchy and minor and
Yeah.
like, unresolved,
Yeah.
and then how to resolve it and what kind of things. But like the thing is, like, you already know it feels bad or it feels easy or it feels crunchy way before music school.
Right,
like,
right.
You know that when you're listening to TLC Waterfalls,
Yeah.
and you got your first tape and you're like, I don't know, when it sounds like catchy and hooky and good.
Yeah.
And you can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or maybe you don't, but no, I think you do.
I think like if I think back to like pre-studying versus studying, like pre-studying, yeah, you might feel something's wrong or off, but not know exactly why.
Yeah.
And then I feel like studying could help identify, oh, this is the reason why that doesn't sound as
Pleasing to
smooth
my
as
ear. Yeah,
this.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But like, yeah, but you still knew the one sounded easier than the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Well, like I still remember how to play the first song we ever wrote in this rock band I had in like grade 6, and then if like the chorus and like the verse just feel in two separate worlds, and there wasn't a transition between the two separate worlds. And then, I mean, at the time I didn't know why, and then it sounded like, yeah, it sounds fine. But there is a difference. If I was to try and write the same thing now, I would go, okay, there has to be a little bridgey between the two worlds. So we have we take the guest on a smooth trip between the two worlds instead of just throwing them into the other world.
Got you. Yeah, you have a little more tender, loving care in your songwriting.
Yeah, just like a better host. I'm curious. So the one thing that I want to ask about too is like the Ramones reference, because you have it in your name as well.
Yeah.
And Spencer and I talked about this a bit too, but I'm very pro reference, and I love I love references, but there's sometimes can be frowned upon in the music world, I find, versus visual art world, where they're usually I feel there's usually more accepted and applauded in some ways to creatively reference someone from the past. But music seems it's less accepting of specific references, I find. But I love them, and with Spencer we talked about how neither of us really want to do much without referencing something, because we find it more interesting to reference because there's this context and a history to what you're doing.
You can catch people up to speed a lot quicker.
You can, yeah.
Throw Ramones in there, it's like everyone knows now what I'm up to.
Right. So do you think of it as like a contextual thing, to be like, hey, this is where I am, this is the place I'm coming from, or how do you think of references in music?
I would say so. How do I think of references in music? I think, like, to your point, like, it is kind of tricky because music is maybe a little bit more polarizing in this way that, like, either you're a Ramones fan or you're a Sex Pistols fan. You probably aren't both. Like, you have to belong to one or either camp.
Yeah.
But in art, it's maybe a little bit more subjective, where, like, you're not like, oh, I only like this, I don't like that, I'm this kind of person, you're that kind of person. But in music, like, we definitely start to either, wear leather jackets and tight jeans and sneakers and striped t-shirts, or you rip everything up and you're like, God save the Queen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's you wear those musical references as an identity, probably bigger than in the art world. So like, I do think it's a bold move to use references so heavily in music side of things. But I mean, like, for me, for sure, the Smithy Ramone project that I'm working on is like such an ode to Joey in this way that he is a misfit, he's an underdog, he's a weirdo. And I think that sometimes maybe we're similar, cut from the same cloth there. I think that Joey probably felt the coolest when he was making music and he was on stage and he was like doing his thing as Joey Ramone, and that's like what made him feel cool. I'm sure he felt like an outsider in many other places in his life. And it's totally like that for me. I don't feel like the tall, awkward, weird girl. I feel like a rock star. So it's like I relate that back to him a lot. Joey, rest in peace. And using that reference just seems like, like I can cut through some noise really quickly and make sure everyone knows where I'm coming from, Yeah.
Rockin'.
Take some guesswork out of there.
What does the future hold? Are you working on new things? Are you working on Jock Tears? Are you working on Smithy Ramone?
Yeah, lots of stuff right now. This is like, I feel like I'm a little squirrel right now. This part of the year, this winter, this spring. Jock Tears are writing a new record.
Awesome.
So the plan is to get that done this spring. And then hopefully this summer we have a whole new set to show everyone.
Rockin'.
So we're really excited about that. We want to put a new record out this year.
Cool.
So yeah, we got a little work to do, but things are really brewing there. It's exciting. We have so many ideas. So Jock Tears is on its way. I'm drumming in a new band called What?
Cool.
And I'm really excited about it. It's like the band is with these two ladies that have played in lots of bands in Vancouver that like just totally touched me right in my heart. And I've been a huge fan of all of their music, and so like to be in a band with them is so freaking cool. And I'm probably the world's goofiest drummer. Like I break into laughter every song, and I feel like I'm growing extra arms after every practice. It's pretty fun. What else? Smithy Ramone. So Smithy recently went to Belgium and into Brussels and a little bit of Europe, and Smithy wants to go back there and play more rock music. I noticed there's like a lot of electronic music, which is so cool too, but there's like this special thing that happened in the Pacific Northwest that I'm a part of, this like whole rag girl, whole like rocker thing that like I want to bring that to the world. So I'm really interested in going back into Europe and playing with some different musicians there. I really want to start a Belgian rock band.
Cool.
So I'm working on that. I guess that's kind of what Smithy's up to.
Cool. And Smithy's got an album on the Bandcamps.
You can listen to Cursed on Bandcamp.
And it's a comic book too.
And there's a comic book too. I'm reading another one of those. It might be called, actually, I'm not sure what it's going to be called. I'm kind of flip-flopping. See, this is the thing. I have like a few crazy worms in my head right now that
Yeah.
like they're just worming around.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite. It's almost like I'm a chicken. It's like I'm a chicken, and I have some eggs that
Yeah.
are like cooking up inside of me,
Yeah.
but they're not quite ready to be laid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm still forming the keratin for the shell.
Right. And you don't know what's gonna happen first.
I don't. Yeah, what's happening first, the chicken
which-
or the egg?
That too.
Yeah. So I think I'm about to lay some eggs.
Cool. That's exciting. And then Jock Tears we got on the iTunes and the Bandcamps. And the Bandcamp both? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Spotify, the whole gamut.
The whole gamut.
Oh my gosh, did you hear Jock Tears is going to TJ, baby? We're going to Tijuana.
No, I did not hear. What is this?
We're going to Tijuana this March. So hopefully this podcast is out by then.
Cool.
But
What date is that?
March 23rd or 4th or 5th.
Rockin'.
Yeah.
Is this for a festival or what is it?
It's just for like one banger of a rock show, but we're gonna go
Cool.
on our West Coast North American tour. So
Sweet.
actually, I don't even know if it's North American. It's just U.S.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's North American if you're going to Mexico, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we're spreading some countries there. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Good to talk to you.
Right back at you.
Keep on rocking in the free world and doodle-loot doot.
Do.
There you have it. Thanks everyone for listening. Let's hear a Smithy Ramone track. We've been teasing it all episode long. Let's hear Magic Leather Jacket. Also, you can catch Jock Tears with Yep Devours and Girls Nails or Girl Snails. It's all one word. It's probably supposed to be both. I haven't seen them yet, but the other three are a sight to be seen and a sound to be heard. That's April 13th. They're all playing at Redgate. Bye.
In my magic leather jacket, I can take off like a rocket. In my magic leather jacket, feeling good, there's nothing like it. When I get to the show on my police ever side, I'll even throw some shade and smile. Feeling real cool now on my Harley for a ride. Your magic's working on me, feeling free. In my magic leather jacket, I can take off like a rocket. In my magic leather jacket, feeling good, there's nothing like it. When I'm walking down the main street, I got sunshine in my hair. Leather jacket's you to whom I always run. I'm really warmed up now at the party at the pool. Your magic's working on me, feeling free. Hey, ho, feeling free, I wanna be. Hey, ho, feeling free, I wanna be. My leather jacket